Once upon a time, in the small town of Assisi, Italy, there was born a young man named Francesco Bernardone, better known to the world today as Saint Francis of Assisi. Born into wealth and privilege, Francis was the son of a successful cloth merchant. He grew up enjoying all the comforts that his father's riches could afford: fine clothes, extravagant parties, and the admiration of his peers. Yet, despite all the luxuries, Francis found his heart unsatisfied. As a young man, Francis sought adventure and glory. He longed to be a knight and join the battles of the time. However, on his way to one such war, Francis fell ill and had a profound spiritual experience. He heard a voice telling him to return to Assisi, which marked the beginning of his journey towards spiritual awakening. Back home, Francis experienced a deep conversion. While praying in a small, broken-down church called San Damiano, he heard Christ speak to him from the crucifix, saying, "Francis, rebuild my church." Believing this to be a call to restore the physical church building, Francis began to repair the church with his own hands. Over time, he realized that Christ was also calling him to rebuild the entire church by living a life of radical simplicity and love. Francis gave up all his wealth, even renouncing his inheritance from his father. He embraced a life of poverty, choosing to live among the poor and preach the gospel. His joyful spirit, love for all creatures, and humble way of life drew many followers, and together they formed the Franciscan Order. One of the most famous stories about Francis is his encounter with a fierce wolf that was terrorizing the town of Gubbio. Instead of fighting the wolf, Francis approached it with love and gentleness. He spoke to the wolf, made peace between the animal and the townspeople, and the wolf lived peacefully with them from then on. Saint Francis' love for all of God's creation became legendary. He referred to animals, the sun, the moon, and the elements as his brothers and sisters. His Canticle of the Sun is a beautiful hymn celebrating the wonder of creation. Francis lived in harmony with nature, people, and God. He also bore the stigmata, the wounds of Christ, on his body in the final years of his life, a visible sign of his deep love and unity with Christ. Saint Francis of Assisi died on October 3rd, 1226, leaving behind a legacy of peace, humility, and love for all of God's creatures. His life continues to inspire millions around the world to embrace simplicity, care for the environment, and live with compassion toward all beings. His feast day is celebrated on October 4th, a day to remember his extraordinary life and message.